eggshells in, for example, because eggshells are, you know,
because of minerals.
extracting the minerals from.
Cool.
Some people use a mineral concentrate as well. There's something called, I see on the web, called concentrace, which is trace minerals in a concentrated form and in a bottle, and they put a teaspoon of that in. But yeah, that's from iHerb, so I think you can buy iHerb. But yeah, I warmed some water up, put it in there, melted the sugar, and now the easy bit is just you fill up the jar with water. Alright, this is actually a quart size. A quart is 946 millilitres, which is the same size as a coconut oil. It says so there, right? So it's just under a litre.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can use a litre if you have the right that size jar. So I'll just now again this will cool the water down also to room temperature, which is what the grains need. So they shouldn't really be put into hot water, just room temperature water.
Does it matter how much water you dissolve the sugar in, or is it just
a
token amount?
Some people actually boil the whole lot, the whole quart, and then put the sugar in and melt the whole lot and then leave it to cool. But for me, why? Because that's just all the goodness is going out of the water if you boil too much of it, right? So I just boil a tiny amount of it, and then you've got to leave some room here for two reasons: to get the grains in first of all, and then also to allow some of the air to escape that's going to be produced. There's going to be some carbon dioxide being produced inside, so it needs to escape as well. So that should be enough. All right, give it a bit of a stir. Mix the sugar up. And then we're going to get the babies.
Oh. Where do they live?
They live in the fridge, and they're in sort of all different kinds of concoctions. So here we have some grains. To keep the grains alive, they should really rest in sugar water. Okay, so there's sugar water there with grains in. That's one. I also got grains in the tub because they've sort of been used recently. Sorry, Helen.
Right.
Okay. Then I've got separate. I've got.
Wow, you've got lots of babies.
Yeah, these are coconut sugar grains because you can see because they're browner.
Oh.
So the grains tend to take on the flavours of the, well, not the flavours, but the colours of the sugar that you use. So obviously if you use white sugar, they're going to go a lot whiter. But so these are definitely coconut sugar grains. What you shouldn't do is mix them up. Really, so if you're using different sugars, try and keep the same grains. If you're using different flavours later on also, if you're adding flavours at all with the grains in, then also you should try to keep them separate as well. Because I said to Paula before, you can use a lemon, for example. When you're actually putting the grains in, I added a lemon once on the top, because the grains like the lemon, the acid from the lemon. So, but if you're doing that, you know, once, maybe keep those grains separate, so that you can use lemon again just with those grains. Okay, so we're going to take these grains here. They're a bit moist, so I'm going to actually try to get the water out. I don't think you may not need to do that, but to get the water out, I use, to my shame, I use this. You shouldn't. You should use something plastic, because metal is supposed to be reactive to with the grains. I don't know, I don't really understand what that means, but obviously the grains, it affects the grains in some form. So what I should use is something plastic. So all I have is a colander.
That would work.
Yeah, it will work.
Or even a cheesecloth.
A cheesecloth is fine, yeah. It's just harder when you're trying to pour from one bottle into another using a colander. It's best to use something which is smaller. So I'll just tip this out. Here. Get a little bit of the water. Again, I'm not sure whether I need to. It's just that it's been sitting with the grains for a long time, and you know, drinking it might be a little bit. It might alter the flavour a bit. So, okay, so we've got some grains here. By the way, grains like to be agitated, just like people, just like babies. So not in this way, but when they're in the jar, don't ignore them. Don't just leave them on the side and hope that they're going to ferment the liquid and reproduce by themselves. They will, but they'll be a lot more kind to you if you actually give them a bit of a shake from time to time, because they start moving around. And I've read also that somebody puts them on top of the fridge. We can't do that because there's no room, but and when somebody opens the door of the fridge every time, so that it gets jostled, right? And therefore that helps the grains to remember to feed. Okay? So, we're going to put in 4 tablespoons, maybe less, but let's see how many grains there are here, of grains. So we'll say that's 1. Right? 2. 3. And in fact there's probably enough just to put in a little bit. I'm not really sure if it should be heat or level or whatever, so I don't want to waste them. By the way, you can eat them. So if you want to eat a grain, you can always eat one. They taste pretty bland, as far as I know, but they're edible.
Don't really have a flavour.
Sorry?
Don't really have a flavour.
No, they don't. They're bland, aren't they? But there is something. I'm sure there's something you can do with the grains, and you must be able to use them for some you know, in some way. Okay, so there they are. And then we're just going to put a cloth over the top. This is actually is it a soup bag, Penny?
Yeah, we've got them from Japan Home.
These are from Japan Home, $16 for 5. So they're brilliant.
And they wash
so,
up really well.
Yeah, they do. They wash it
They
clean
stay
really easily.
for a while.
So we can just put this over the top. And okay. Now it needs to be kept somewhere warm, so it mustn't go in the fridge.
Yeah.
It must be kept somewhere quite.
So room temperature is perfect.
Yeah,
Although
it
here-
is.
Or on
Yeah.
your balcony.
Yeah.
Can you put it on your balcony? Oh, you won't want it in the sun though, would you?
Yeah, I don't know. Not in the sun, maybe not in the breeze either, so probably just somewhere quite nice and warm.
My kitchen.
And after a while the grains will start to move around. It might take a few hours for it to start, moving, but they will start feeding. Obviously they're feeding on the sugar at the bottom at the moment, but when the sugar is less thick at the bottom, they'll rise up and start feeding. So it'll take several hours. So I leave it like this for 24 hours on the counter, and then after 24 hours I will drain off the grains. Take the grains out. Okay. Find a way of doing it without using a metal sieve if you can.
We've got the funnel, that helps.
Yeah, you need a plastic. Yes, you've got to have a plastic funnel. This is one of the best buys from City Super. $16 again, I think, wasn't it? It wasn't very expensive, so that's good. Yeah, so resting that on there, and then pouring in the into another bottle so the grains rest in the sieve. Okay. Then when you've done that, it could go into say a bottle like this, and then you can. This is flavoured here with ginger. There's ginger at the bottom here, so you just need to put the fruit in here, or in this case the ginger, and then you seal it this time with a cap, quite tightly. So not with a cloth anymore, but with a. Make sure there's some space there because now it'll start to get fizzy as it starts to digest, as it were, and metabolise what's in the fruit. So it will produce carbon dioxide and fizz. So keep it. If you want to actually let the fizz out because you feel a bit insecure about the whole thing, then you can sometimes just open it up and then let it come out and then just tighten it back up again. Alright?
That's not as fizzy anyway.
This one is not fizzy at all, no. So, and it doesn't matter if it's not fizzy, it's not taking away any goodness, it's just taking out the carbon dioxide. But of course it's more pleasant to drink if it's fizzy, I think, especially for children, anyway.
Like ginger beer, they didn't
Yeah. You can flavour it with vanilla too, with vanilla drops.
And then
Tastes partly like soda water, so it's also good for kids. Yeah. And so, yeah. 24 hours, again, I leave it to flavour, but you could leave it for longer, 48
Still at room
hours,
temperature.
room temperature. And when you feel as though you want to drink it, because it's good to keep testing it from time to time as well, if you want to experiment with different flavours and times. And then when you think it's ready to drink, then keep the cap on and put it in the fridge. Because of course it's much nicer to drink also when it's cold as well, cold and fizzy, and tastes like
And you take the fruit out.
soda
don't you?
water or whatever flavour it might be, sorry?
You take the fruit out and put it in the fridge. Don't you?
Yeah, that's what Paula asked too. Usually I take the fruit out because if the fruit's fresh anyway, you've also got to take it out after 24 hours and replace it with some other fruit if you want to leave it for longer. Because it does go yucky inside. But if you want to use dried fruit, which doesn't need to be taken out so often, or at all, you can leave dried fruit in there, things like cranberries, dried mango, goji berries,
We haven't tried
yeah,
that
even
yet.
the cinnamon stick people put in too, I've read. So all those things, they can be in there for longer, and probably even when you're drinking it they can stay in there because it's dried fruit and it won't go so soft and horrible. So there you go.
So once
That's
it's in the
healthy.
bottle, you leave it for 24 to 48 hours, did you say?
Yeah, some people leave it even longer. I've only gone yet as far as 24 hours for the flavouring, because that's what I've read that most people do.
Right.
24 hours only. And it's worked with that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's
Yeah.
really
And
nice.
this
That's
one
really
with
nice.
fresh lemon.
And that's with fresh lemon,
and
yeah.
Lemon juice.
And what you can,
Or
yeah.
did you leave it with the skin on and just cut it into bits?
Okay, so what I do is, first of all, because it's not organic, the lemon I got, so I put it into alkaline water. Strong alkaline water for a few minutes to get all the kind of, the pesticides and stuff off it, as best I could. Then I cut it up into bits, yeah, and then put it inside the bottle with the skin on as a flavouring. So you can do that. You can also add juices too. So if you want to make drinks for children, you can. If you've got sort of healthy juices in that they're not from, not too much sugar in, they're not from concentrate. You can add, say, 2 inches of juice into it, and then you can actually mix it all up, and it becomes